Toronto, the Greater Toronto Area. People are leaving. They are moving away. Today we're going to look at why and touch on why are they moving to a place like Belleville. Hi, my name is Jeremy Tremblay. I am a local realtor that works in the Belleville surrounding areas. That includes Trenton, Prince Edward County. If you have any questions after this video, feel free to reach out. My information down below. I really appreciate everyone reaching out and asking questions. Also, I've done many videos talking about this area. So if you don't know anything about the area, I'd highly suggest you go look at the rest of my videos and then hit that subscribe button. And it would really help if you could hit that little thumbs up. Let's get to it. So it's no secret that people are definitely leaving Toronto. They are looking to relocate and get out of the Toronto area or out of the GTA, Greater Toronto Area as a whole. Now, Toronto does have a lot to offer. A lot of amenities. People are going down, watching the Blue Jays, the Leafs, all the other amenities and tourist attractions that you see in Toronto are there. But the daily life is incredibly congested. There's just a lot going on and it's getting too tight for a lot of people and they're looking for a way out. Now, initially, if you look at the way the patterns were happening there, you look towards the west of Toronto and you had the Kitchener, Waterloo, Guelph regions and down towards Hamilton. Those are the first areas that started to expand because it was, first of all, it was affordable. And we're going to get on that and talk about the affordability of Belleville. But those areas, while they were affordable, well, they're starting to become less affordable because so many people were going there. And also the commute coming into Toronto. It wasn't too bad from those areas. Well, that of course has increased because the congestion on our main highways. Speaking of highways, we will get to those traffic patterns, but Toronto, it's terrible. Let's be honest. You can live up GTA, go up towards Newmarket and say, I want to go down and visit something in Toronto. And you have to take Highway 404, get onto the DVP. It's a nightmare. You get towards that 401 and 404 intersection and it's never good. Getting through Toronto, it's always crazy. Our roads are so busy. I mentioned before that Highway 401, one of the busiest highways in all of North America. And the majority of the traffic happens right within the GTA area. So yeah, one of the many reasons why people are leaving and they're looking for space. And of course, if you look east of Toronto, well, there's a little bit more space because you have Highway 401 that goes all the way towards Montreal or up towards Ottawa and then GTA. What's happening in between there is a lot of little communities that are starting to grow. And that's where Belleville comes into play. Now, traffic, it only seems to get worse. As we're saying, there are many news articles that saying that Toronto traffic is one of the most congested cities in all of the world. It is terrible. They don't seem to have much of a solution on hand right now. They're talking about some underground tunnels and the subway system being improved, but all around it's quite terrible. And for people that are looking to retire or that can do remote work, living in a place like Belleville is becoming more enticing. Now, the traffic patterns, if you get out of that Whitby, Oshawa, Pickering, Ajax area, a lot of people are working in there, but they're not enjoying the traffic to and from Toronto. They want to make a change. Well, you come an hour down Highway 401 and that's where you have Belleville. And now I know many people that are looking at potentially working one day a week in those areas. So they'll live in Belleville or the Quinte area and they'll drive the 1 hour 1 or 2 days a week and then come back and they'll live in this area. For others that do have to work right down in Toronto downtown, the option that they choose is to use the Via Rail train. So within Belleville, they have to do their remote work from home and then 1 day a week they jump on the train. That takes you right down to Union Station and you do your day of work, jump back on that train and head back out to Belleville. So that's something that people are actually looking to do. And this, of course, is helping them avoid all those crazy traffic patterns. If you look within Belleville, Trenton, Prince Edward County, this area, and you mention traffic jams, well, that's usually a few sets of lights where you might not make the first green and you have to wait for another one. That's where we consider it to be a little bit of a traffic jam, which many people in Toronto laugh at. But that's the reality of living in these areas. It is not that busy. Getting around the city does not take very long. Getting from Highway 401 right down to the lake, you can do in about 5, maybe 10 minutes if it's busy and you're taking a busy route down there. And so very different. And that's one of the main reasons I see people that are saying, hey, I just want to get out of Toronto. And that leads to your community. Many people living in these areas in Toronto directly have moved out towards, like I said, the Oshawa, Whitby areas. But even those communities have changed. And one thing they're saving by not driving every single day and getting stuck in traffic for an hour to 2 hours a day is that they have more time to spend in their communities. And you see that in a place like Belleville and the surrounding areas, and that it takes you 5 or 10 minutes to get to work, or you're working from home. So you can spend time in the community. You can get to know your neighbors. Something that I hear quite often from people that contact me about relocating to this area from Toronto is that the neighborhoods they once knew 10, 20, 30 years ago, they're just not the same. They don't know their neighbors anymore. There's not a lot of neighborhood activities happening. And so you just have a more isolated feel and you're kind of lost in the big city. You don't find that as much. In an area like Belleville, which has around 60,000 people, or over in Trenton, which is down to 20,000 people, you tend to know what's going on. Myself, I live in this area with my family, with my kids, and there are a lot of great areas to visit. There are local parks that we can go to. You can make your way down to the waterfront, both in Belleville. All along, they call this the Bay of Quinte because the entire area is right along the water, right along the Bay of Quinte, which then feeds out into Lake Ontario. It's extremely easy to access that waterfront. On a daily basis, depending on where you live, it can be basically 5 minutes or less to get down there. It's free parking. You can park, walk all along. There are trails set up. There are parks for kids. There are green spaces all along the water that we can enjoy on a daily basis. It just makes for a nice, calm way of living. And then with those trails, they extend out even further. All around the city, we've got conservation areas and trails that are groomed so you can go biking, you can go snowmobiling in the winter, you can have access to a local ski hill. While not huge, it's still a great option that's nice and close just north of Trenton. We have all these options that are easy to get to. They're affordable, much like the housing comparatively, which we'll get to in a bit. But overall, there's just a lot that you can do in these smaller areas, smaller communities, and you'd get to know those neighbors. When you get involved in your kids go in a local basketball league, or they're at the sports in school or art activities, you get to see your neighbors. And when you ask that question, well, whereabouts do you live? If they live on the east side of Belleville, or they just live over near Trenton on the other side of the river, you know where that is because they're small pockets and you get to know where people are from and you build a community. And so something that many people love coming to this area versus what they see in the Toronto area. Now, another thing that comes along with having that neighborhood and community feel is the safety aspect. Now, everyone knows a city like Toronto or the greater Toronto areas, there's just a lot that goes on there. And it's kind of deceiving because you look at the numbers and the statistics and you might say it doesn't look so bad in different parts of Toronto. Well, that's unfortunately because it's kind of diluted by the number of people. So if you have 100 incidents of crime, well, when you have 1 million people, it's like, well, that's not so bad, 100 out of 1 million. But the point is they are still happening. Whereas if you come over to an area like Belleville, if something does happen, first of all, many times it will make the local paper or the news because it doesn't happen as often. It's just generally a safer area to be in. When I go down to Toronto, I know I better lock my car. I better lock my doors no matter what because car theft has gone through the roof. That's not happening in this area nearly as much. And so you just have that safer feel when you're at your home. And also neighbors. Neighbors are watching the area, know what's going on. And when you get to know neighbors, they know who normally comes by and who shouldn't be there. That small town looking out for each other, that's kind of still there. And we still encourage that in small towns such as this. That being said, there are still pockets. It seems like pretty much every town in Ontario at this point, there's a lot of issues with homelessness and drug abuse, and it tends to be concentrated in downtown areas. And that's true in this area as well. Downtown Belleville has had some issues with the drug abuse issues, and it's a very concentrated area. All I can say to that is using somebody that knows the area. If you're going to engage with a realtor, use somebody that knows the area so they can guide you around the city. But the majority of this area directly, Trenton surrounding areas, is incredibly safe, has a very neighborhood feel to it. So finally, and what I think is the main reason why people are relocating out of Toronto, leaving and coming towards an area like Belleville, is housing affordability. As everyone's heard in the news, Toronto housing prices have continued to skyrocket over the last number of years, and it's just unattainable for the majority of people. So you look in price range such as the $1.1 to $1.3 million, which is not the average buyer in Canada, but this is the type of home that you're going to find in Toronto. You can get a single family home. It's a nice enough home, but it's not going to be huge. It's not going to be a huge yard. If you want a little more for your money, you go outside a little bit and go towards Etobicoke or towards Scarborough. You might get a little bit more depending on the neighborhood, the 60s, 70s bungalow style, but not too much more. Whereas you take that price range over, look in Belleville, the surrounding areas down in Prince Edward County, and $1.1 to $1.3 million is going to get you a fantastic home. You've got homes that are closer to golf courses, some that are close to the water. You've got a lot of different options, and they are fantastic homes. It's really not comparable whatsoever compared to Toronto. Well, the next range would be that under $1 million. Now we're looking for houses, say you want something in that $700,000 to $900,000 range. Well, if you're back in Toronto, you are looking at that point at townhomes. And the unfortunate part about this is the majority of those townhomes are built up. So you're going to have 2, 3, 4 stories on these homes. And as I mentioned, people with kids, people retiring, that might not be feasible. They might not want to do that for the foreseeable future. So they look for other options because $700,000 to $900,000 just for a townhome, a little bit too much for them there. Now you come out towards Belleville, $700,000 to $900,000 gets you a single family home, new build construction in a really nice neighborhood. Without question. And for a lot of people, they'll have the single floor living because they are retiring and they don't really want to have to go upstairs anymore. Well, you can have a bungalow built for that $700,000 range, pretty much all the new neighborhoods in the city. And if you get into the $800,000 range, you can have a 2-story home, a lot of square footage, finished basement, nice lot, really easy access to the highway to get towards Toronto. You're really not skimping on all those little details at that price range in this area. And then from there, we are going to look down and towards the $400,000 to $600,000 price range. First of all, in Toronto, you're not getting much. You're going to get a piece of property in the sky, also known as a condo. A lot of them are that 500 square foot range, 1 bedroom. You're not raising a family in that, and many retirees aren't looking to be involved in that either. It's great for someone that wants to be right in Toronto and not own a vehicle, but aside from that, there aren't many other options in that price range. You go out a little bit further, you might be able to get a little bit more, find some townhomes on the outer edge of the GTA in that range, but there's just not many options. Now the 400 to 600 range in Belleville in this area, you've got a lot of options actually. So for those that are wanting to retire and they want to be in something that's a newer build, you can get townhomes that are in that between 500,000 and 600,000, as low as 500, low 500,000s for a new build, and it will have everything on the main floor. Your master bedroom, your walk-in closet, your nice new kitchen, everything is there. And then you look towards single family homes. Well, in the 500,000 range, you can get a nice single family home on the resale side in this area that's going to have a nice lot, a little bit of space to actually move around your house in a nice neighborhood. And I mentioned even into the 400,000 range, if you're willing to put a little bit of work into some of the homes, there's some great opportunities for homes that can be increased in value, but you can still actually get into a single family or townhomes for that price range. So all over, you can get more options in Belleville versus Toronto. And to me, this is, yeah, it's a no-brainer why people are deciding to sell their homes if they do own in the Toronto area, move here, or others that are just realizing it's not going to be possible to ever purchase in Toronto and their goal is to purchase a home. Well, they come towards Belleville. So those just a few of the reasons why so many people are leaving the city of Toronto and moving to areas such as this in Belleville. If you have any more questions, I've piqued your interest about this area and you want to learn a little bit more, please reach out. I have people from YouTube that contact me all the time, asking questions, asking about the types of homes in the neighborhoods in this area. I'd love to hear from you. My contact information down below in the description. Also, as I mentioned, I have a lot of videos on this channel talking about the different communities that surround the Belleville area. And you can go check those out, learn a little bit more. Also, hit the subscribe button. I'll be doing a lot of different videos coming up the rest of this year. And also, I'd really appreciate it if you've learned anything from this video, hit the little thumbs up. Till next time.